It is possible to run a business and to have a family and to have time for yourself on a daily basis. It's going to look very different than what everyone else is doing because everyone else is running around like a friggin' chicken with their head cut off. But there is this whole other way to be that involves you putting yourself first, and that's not selfish.
Hi Marie, your videos are my go-to whenever I'm having issues with something. I just watched the video where you talked about 4 habits of really productive people, but I'm still stumped. My schedule is never the same. I work in production and with private clients, and that means sometimes I'm on set for 4 a.m. and other times I see clients at 6 p.m. I can't seem to get a handle on morning routines and non-negotiables. My dog never gets walked at the same time. I never go to sleep at the same time. And I'll go days with no work, only to work 10, 12-hour days in a row. Because I can't set a regular routine and everything is inconsistent, is there anything else I can do to be more productive and get it all done? Thank you for making incredible videos and content all the time, Ashley. Ashley, this is a great question. My schedule is never the same either, and I travel quite a bit, so I really understand the challenges of inconsistency. That being said, there is one super simple and super powerful productivity habit that I think everybody should adopt, especially if you have an inconsistent schedule. It only takes 4 to 5 minutes every single day, and it sets you up to win huge like never before. Know what it is?
Buying a lotto ticket?
Bathing? Neti pot.
Squatty potty.
Nope, it's this. Planning your day out the night before. This is so darn simple, yet hardly anybody does it. And it's one of the most powerful things that you can do for yourself. So no matter how late at night you go, before you wrap up, just take 4 minutes and really think through everything that you have to get done for the next day. So here's how I usually do it. First thing I do is I open up my calendar and I take a look at all the appointments that I have for the next day and the time that those appointments will take, like this. 1 o'clock, I got a team call that lasts 30 minutes. 3:30, I have a MarieTV script review that'll take about an hour, and then I have a 6:30 spin class. Then I write down all the projects and the tasks that I need to get done, and I give myself a little bit of an estimate about how long I think each project or task will take. Of course, these are estimates. Sometimes I get things done faster, and sometimes they take longer, but at least I give myself a baseline to work off of. 9 to 10:30 a.m., I'm going to write a first draft of a sales video script. I'm going to give myself about 90 minutes. Then from 11:30 to 12:30, I'm going to review my social media schedule, give myself an hour for that. And from 2:30 to 3, I'll do a little email clear out. And finally, I make a new little section at the bottom of my notepad with personal things that I need to handle for that day. For example, get Nanny a birthday card and mail it. That'll take me about 30 minutes. Order more Kuma food, all of 10 minutes. And book a haircut for the next month, takes me about 5 minutes. Boom! That is it. Super simple. So when I do this, it informs exactly when I need to be at my desk and working, which tells me when I need to wake up to have enough time to do my little morning routine and get everything done without feeling rushed or stressed. The worst thing you can do is wake up in the morning and go straight to your computer and open up email, and then all of a sudden you're pretending to work all day, and at the end of the day, nothing important ever got done. Nobody's perfect, and of course, not every day goes as planned, but this system gives you the best chance possible at making sure that your most important projects get done, especially if you have an inconsistent schedule. And by the way, if you haven't seen our other MarieTV about urgent versus important, you should really watch it because I think you're gonna love it. So let's wrap this one up on a tweetable. If you plan on having a successful life, start by planning your day. Do you ever have one of those days where it feels like you're doing a ton of things, but at the end of the day, you didn't get anything really important done? I can relate. That's why today I want to show you a simple 3-step method to making progress on your most important work while at the same time training your brain to be more focused. You see, we're living in a time when we are allowing our brains to be trained to underperform. We've become addicted to checking our phones, right? To social media and all kinds of stuff. And in doing so, we are reducing our ability to stay focused and do the deep, important work that we're meant to do in this world. Now, what I'm about to suggest isn't complicated and it is not time-consuming, but it will require you to take back control of your time, take back control of this beautiful brain, and trust that your world will not immediately fall apart if you don't immediately respond to every ding or every buzz or every question or every request. It's just 3 simple steps, and I promise, if you use these 3 steps every single day, you'll not only get more important work done, but you'll start breaking the destructive, addictive behaviors that are killing your brain and your happiness. Step number 1 is do creative work first. Now, a big mistake that's really easy to make in today's world is to try and do all the little things and knock them out first. And then you have this fantasy that you're going to have all this time for the big, important creative work later in the afternoon. But have you ever noticed that this rarely friggin' works? Am I right?
Amen, sister.
I mean, ain't that the truth?
Wait, did she bug my phone?
Here's why trying to do all the little things first is a really terrible idea. Because when you wake up, you have this full tank of cognitive fuel. But what many of us forget is that we only have a finite amount of this super powerful cognitive fuel each and every day. And every single time that you make a decision or you resist temptation or exert any kind of self-control, you start to drain your cognitive fuel tank. I want you to think about it kind of like this. Ugh, should I answer this email or keep it as unread? Oh God, where should I make a reservation for dinner tonight? Damn it, gotta reschedule that doctor's appointment. Oh yeah, you know what? I really need a haircut too. Why is he texting me? Where's that poo emoji? Wait, heart emoji or poo emoji? Heart emoji. So you decide, do you want to use that limited cognitive fuel on something really important and amazing, or do you want to blow your daily wad on a bunch of dumb crap that doesn't really matter? Moving on. Step number 2, put your entire life on airplane mode. So don't try and ignore your phone or ignore the emails or ignore the Slack messages or whatever else that you have that dings and rings and pops up. That's like me telling Kuma to ignore this slice of salami. Ain't gonna happen. Who can ignore the salami? Who can ignore the salami? So rather than resist temptation, just eliminate it. And that means you have to put your entire life on airplane mode. Now, obviously, turn off all the notifications. So close all the tabs, close all the windows, turn off the apps, and especially for your phone, I suggest just turning the damn thing off. However, you also got to shut off some people too. And that means that you might have to tell your kids and your spouse and your coworkers that for the next 2 hours or 1 hour or 3 hours that you don't exist. Kind of like this. See? Nobody here. And then finally, our favorite step is step number 3, write a onesie. So wherever you're working, what I want you to do is remove everything from your site. So make it super clean and super clear. So no books, no notebooks, no to-do list. Then here's what I want you to do. I want you to take out just a blank piece of paper, something like this, and then just get a big old magic marker and write the one task that you need to work on right now on this piece of paper. And we call this making a onesie.
I mean, you're talking about something like this?
Oh, Jams, that's amazing, but that's not the kind of onesie that I'm trying to teach these guys about right here.
What about something like that?
Oh, Greg, that's fierce. That's a fierce onesie, but that's not the kind of onesie. This onesie is just something a little bit different.
How about this?
Ooh, well, you know, maybe I can make an exception. This is a very special kind of onesie. Now, when you are making your onesie, you have to remember to verbalize it. Now, if you don't remember that episode, it is below this one, but here's the short version. Don't just write blog post. That is too vague and it's not actionable. That's not a onesie. Instead, you need to use a clear directive verb like this. Finish the blog post. Now, this, my friends, is a onesie. Onesie, onesie, onesie.
Onesie.
Yeah. And what you do when you have your onesie, you put it right next to you like this. Go there, little onesie. And then for the next 30 minutes or the next 2 hours or whatever, you stay totally focused on completing that one task. And anytime you start acting like a digital crackhead, looking around for something to click or double tap, the only thing you're going to see is this big, beautiful one-task wonder, the onesie. In fact, we believe so much in the power of the onesie that we felt like it deserved its own dance break.
Hey onesie, you're so fine, you train my mind. Hey onesie, hey onesie. Oh onesie, you're so fine, you train my mind. Hey onesie, hey onesie.
And if you need a little reminder, rock on with this tweetable. Be a rebel. Answer your creative dreams instead of your emails.
How do you navigate kind of like healing, productivity while healing from trauma?
Yeah, great question.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So first of all, it's 100% possible. And I'll tell you things that you probably know instinctually, but I find it sometimes helpful for people to echo things that my soul might be telling me, just because it's affirmation and confirmation of being on the right path. So if I were you, my love, I would take a look at all of the things that are kind of on your commitment table in terms of your professional life, things around your podcast, and really have a good, heartfelt, open heart, open mind, think about them and see if there's anything that you can reduce. It may not be forever, but it may just need to come off the list for now. So one of the things we talk about very deeply in Time Genius, which I hope you're going to join us for, is the notion that in times in our lives, we're what I call in the trenches. In the trenches means that we're in a period where there is a request from our life to put intense focus on either our physical healing, our mental healing, our emotional healing, another human being in our life that really needs our love and attention. There might be something that happened in the external world, a natural event, right? That kind of takes your plans and shifts a little bit and say, hey, we need some more attention right now. And when we're in the trenches, I find, and this has been true in my own life, it's really important for me not to be normal Marie, the superhuman version of wanting to do all the things at a level, 100, and also be in the trenches. Those two things, not possible, not wise. So it's about going, hey, I'm in the trenches right now. My life is calling me. My life is asking me. My soul is asking me. The universe is asking me to direct my attention here. I'm not going to be so arrogant to push against with my ego's idea of all the things I should accomplish. I'm going to stay focused on keeping this thing as healthy and whole and connected as possible, which often means I may need more sleep. I may need more support in terms of whether there's a particular therapist, there's a particular work that I'm exploring, that I'm getting into. It could be something around a healing modality. It could be, for me right now, it's a lot of meditation, which I'm finding to be almost like a clearing of the cache.
Yeah.
Mentally and emotionally. It may be around taking a little bit more time to just be and make sure that I have white space in my calendar for naps, crying, being with my friends, feeling, and not producing anything. So I really want to encourage you, Stacey, to honor what you're feeling and to know that your body has so much wisdom, everything that it needs to heal and to get back to a place of homeostasis, to get back to a place of wholeness. But it does require time, attention, and presence. And that also requires you to kind of pull back a little bit on some of the production. Doesn't mean everything, and for some of us, there may be times where we're like, boop, for me, when I had my hysterectomy, I needed to push the pause button for like 6 to 8 weeks. I was like, nope, guys, I'm out, because that's what required. Right. So that's what I would say to you, is really to have a good open-hearted look at that list. Use your intuition to say, what can come off? What for this little period of time do I want to press pause on? What do I need to make some phone calls about? Like, hey, my word and my integrity is so important to me. And right now I've got to make some space for my daughter, my healing. I'm going to get back to you and touch base back with you in 3 months or 6 months. And you can create that space for yourself. And I think one of the blessings of this time, Stacey, is that virtually everyone around the world right now has so much more compassion and empathy for each other, because we can see how much people are going through. And we've seen so many instances, whether it's COVID related or something else, right, of people, in the trenches. And I think having those really heartfelt, clear, transparent communications, not from a place of poor me, but like, hey, I've just recognized this. I need to kind of make some adjustments here. I really respect you and respect your time. And here's how I want to move ahead. Most folks are going to understand that. And you're going to create that freedom and that space that you need to heal. Because I'm sure, as you know, from the work you've been doing, trauma can exist in the body, and it requires care and attention for healing. And it just doesn't happen necessarily on a particular schedule. We need to create the space for it. And so I think you doing that will not only continue to provide the space that you need for yourself as a soul, but it will enrich the work that you're doing in the world when it is time to dip back into those aspects of it.
Yes. Thank you so much. That gives me a million ideas. And I think being a type A perfectionist and someone who just loves producing, I loved getting grades in school because I could get good grades. And so that just gives me a lot of ideas or a lot of affirmation that it's okay to disappoint the person that I think I need to be in order to be who I actually need to be. And
I will tell you, this is just my intuition talking. You don't have to say it's for you, or it may or may not resonate. Mm-hmm. The person oftentimes who we think we need to be, that person was actually created in a moment of trauma at a very long time ago.
Wow. Oh, that's a lot to think about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that idealized version of someone who produces at all cost and shows up at this level at all like that can often come from a place that was not perfectly whole to begin with.
That's a lot to contemplate. Yes. Yes. I'm a former Broadway touring actress as well. So the need to show up and be professional is very deeply ingrained in me.
Yes. And
go on.
I also want to say to you, Stacey, though, what I'm suggesting is a more expanded version of that is actually loving towards you and the other person and not punishing towards you.
Yes. Yes.
Showing up as a professional includes communicating when a situation has shifted.
Yes.
Right. And that there's new information or that there's a new situation to include into the context. And sometimes one of the most professional things you can do is be able to say, hey, something shifted. I really respect you. Here's where I'm going to need to make some adjustments. How can we take care of you as well? And so oftentimes, I've often seen this for myself. We can also in our minds make up that someone's going to be upset with us or super disappointed. And it winds up turning out to be either a relief for them or they're like, oh, this is great. No problem. There's a lot of flexibility. We can go this way or that way. Sounds awesome. Do what you need to do. We're here. I've seen that in my own life happen more times than not.
That's so true. Yeah. Cause it's not like nobody ever says yes to being on my podcast and then quits and for a good reason. And I'm not like, oh, how dare you,
Correct. That's like, right.
You got other things going on. That's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so true. Thank
Give
you.
yourself that same grace. Absolutely. And just know you're not to readjust the priorities a little bit for a bit of time to take care of something is a demonstration of wisdom, not of weakness.
How do you avoid procrastination and get a sense of urgency in the good sense so that you take action now? Okay, so I actually have a two-part answer to this question. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the overarching reason why all of us fight this nasty thing called procrastination. And I learned about this first from an author who I so admire. His name is Steven Pressfield, and he wrote an amazing book called The War of Art. If you haven't gotten it, you should get it. We'll do a book review on that sometime soon. Anyway, Steven talks about this idea called the lizard brain. So this lizard brain, all it's concerned about is survival, and the lizard brain wants to keep you hidden. It wants to keep you safe. So it really stops us from doing things, from putting ourselves out there that could be scary, and it just basically makes us procrastinate. Now, the thing that you have to do is just feel that fear, feel that resistance that actually Steven Pressfield talks about that is attributed to the lizard brain, and just keep going anyway. Another favorite author of mine, his name is Seth Godin. If you haven't heard of him, definitely check him out. And he says all we need to do is ship. We need to ship our things constantly. So what does that mean? That means write your blog. That means produce your music. That means create your videos. You have to create some momentum so you can kind of push past that lizard brain and get your things going and get it out there. There's no secret recipe, unfortunately. There's no secret sauce to moving past it, besides one of my favorite things to do is called just do it. Just do it. So I'll talk to you about what I do when it comes to getting over procrastination, and that's this. Tip number one, this is what I do, and it's called social accountability. So what does that mean? It means that I like to embarrass myself past procrastination. So I tell everybody and their sister about what I'm gonna do so that they can publicly, socially hold me accountable. So this way, if I tell my girlfriend, I'm gonna shoot these new videos and you're gonna see them next week, if she doesn't see them, she's gonna call me out on it and I'm gonna be pretty embarrassed. So I like to use that social accountability to get me to move past procrastination and get some shit done. The second thing that I do is I schedule it. So I often like to say, if you don't schedule it, it's not real. And a very wise friend of mine, and her name is Michelle Vargas, she was saying, if you don't want to schedule it, you probably don't want to do it. And I think that that's a very good kind of inside tip for yourself, because if you're not willing to put it on the calendar, you're probably not willing to do it. So that's all I got for you when it comes to procrastination. Again, it's a nasty thing that all of us deal with, but if you pay attention to your lizard brain, I guarantee if you know it's there, you can overcome it. And then if you're anything like me, you can put some public declarations out there, get the things in your calendar, and you can move past it. I have work that pays my bills, and then there's all this other work I want to do that never seems to get done. When my clients need me, I drop everything to get that work done because it's my job, but then everything else suffers. For example, I have a blog, but I'm not consistent. I want to write a novel and I want to volunteer, but at the end of the day, I never have enough energy to get to the things that I dream about. Every night when I go to bed, I always think, tomorrow will be the day that I start blank, but it never happens. Any ideas to help? Thanks, Angela. Angela, you are so not alone. Millions of people have a secret or not so secret, unlived creative life that feels just out of their grasp. Now, the good news here is that you can break this pattern and make all of your dreams come true. So there's a lot to say on this topic, but today I want to focus on one simple strategy that will crack this whole thing wide open for you. And I think my friend Steven Pressfield said it best when he said, I'm keenly aware of the principle of priority, which states, A, you must know the difference between what's urgent and what's important, and B, you must do what's important first. What's important is the work. This is the whole damn thing, Ange. This is the thing that so many people miss, and it kills them. So many things in life can feel urgent, but they're not. So a few examples: checking email, answering calls or texts, even from clients, and social media. Urgent things demand our attention now, and they can get really addictive because we all want to feel wanted. Now, many of us also like a little hit of drama and adrenaline, which email and social and text and things like that happily deliver. And finally, things that are urgent often relate to other people's goals, not our own. But important things are different. Important things are quiet. There's no alarms, there's no drama. Important things often relate to our own goals and dreams, not other people. And unfortunately, it requires us to be self-starters, and important things are often easy to blow off.
Hey Marie, are we still hanging out today, or?
She's busy,
sorry.
Okay. I'll hit you up tomorrow, see where you're at.
We'll see. We'll see about that. Yeah. We have stuff to do. The first order of business, let's check Twitter. Cool, right? Yeah.
Now, Angela, I know you got clients to attend to and work that pays the bills, and sometimes, yes, that is urgent. However, you do have enough time to create your art and reach your goals as long as you work on what's important first and save what's urgent for a little bit later. Here's how to do this now. Before you get going each day, I want you to take a look at your to-do list, and you're going to mark each task with either an I or a U. I is for important and U is for urgent. And then work on all the I stuff first and save the U stuff till later. Now you got to remember, the urgent stuff is always going to get done because it has to, but this method ensures that your important tasks don't fall to the wayside. And unless somebody is seriously hurt or your house is on fire, if something urgent tries to take your attention, ignore it until your important work is done for the day. Hello, this is Marie. Who's this?
Hi, this is Bianca.
Hey, Bianca, welcome. You're on the MarieTV live call-in show, and you're here with myself and Gregory and Team Forleo, and we are really excited to talk with you today.
I'm very excited and shy, but very excited.
Aw, you're going to be great. So tell us what's happening, and we'll do our very best to help you out.
So I recently realized that I don't feel or think that I've been setting myself realistic goals in trying to build my business, my online business. And I'm really stuck. I feel very stuck about this because I have this big vision. I have so many things that I want to do, and I know that I have to start step by step, and I'm trying to just focus on one thing. But I start to get into it, and then something happens and I fall back, and I have a really busy offline business. So I'm a holistic therapist, and I have a really busy offline business. So I don't have much time daily to spend on the online business and building it. And I feel just very stuck on how to set realistic goals. I want to have my website up in about 2.5 months' time. And I feel that's very realistic. But then when I get into the daily life of it doesn't work out.
So first of all, what you're describing is really common. So thank you so much for sharing. So honestly, I'm curious. You said it twice. You said, I get into something and then something happens. Can you be more specific with us about what the something happens actually is?
Either I get really much more busy in my offline practice. I have a class that I'm teaching that I have to prepare for. I have a visitor coming in from out of town. I'm also in the midst of training to develop my skills. So I'll have to sidetrack for training. Then I get tired. There's that aspect. I feel very, very tired all the time. I'm kind of edging towards burnout, and I'm really trying to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just want to sleep because I'm just really tired, and I have to be available for those sessions that I do offline. Like my clients are number one right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you're describing a situation that many of us have found ourselves in and that many of us can relate to. So I'm going to ask a few more questions because that's how I can get a really accurate picture of the best way to support you into having a different experience so you can achieve more and feel good while you do it. So curious as to what time you're getting up in the morning and how often you are exercising or working out per week. And this is not a question designed to create negativity or judgment. It's just think about this like we want a little snapshot and an assessment.
Yeah. So I have zero exercise. I have a gym in my building.
Yeah.
0.
Okay.
I wake up, I start at 1 and I usually tend to finish at 10:30 p.m.
Okay.
And I go nonstop.
Yes.
Sometimes I start at 10 and then I go till 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. nonstop. And I usually get up 2 hours before I have to go. So I usually get up at 11 a.m. if I'm working at 1. And if I'm working at 10 a.m., then I'm getting up at like 8:30 a.m.
Okay.
And I'm working nonstop till evening time.
Okay, great. So this is the place that we need to look because it's not necessarily about being able to set realistic goals, but I think it's actually taking a further step back and setting yourself up for success, starting with how you're designing your day, what time you're getting up, some of the first things that you're doing during the day, and making sure that you're scheduling yourself so you're not jam-packed. Because I know for any of us humans, right, we're not built like computers. You can't see this, but I'm holding up my laptop right now. You know, computers are made to run nonstop, right? We can turn them on, we can hammer away all day with not taking a break, and pretty much they're going to keep running day after day because they're a machine. But we humans are built differently. And if we don't architect our day in the right way, if we don't build in rest, exercise, hydration, give ourselves free open space, white space, just to dream or to think or to play, we are going to put ourselves in that position where burnout is a real thing. And then it's going to put us so far back that it's going to take 10 times more to even just get back to base zero, nevertheless reaching our biggest dreams. So I know this may not be the answer that you are thinking of, but I want to encourage you to take a look at, rather than designing realistic goals, is how can you design the most inspiring schedule for your day and your week so that you're optimizing who you are and what you can contribute to this world. And I'll tell you something, Bianca. I am someone who believes in a philosophy called simplify to amplify, that less is more. It's been one of the secrets that's allowed me over the last 2 decades to continue to not only achieve things that are really important to me in my business, but to expand and grow in what I'm capable of taking on, and to do so in a way where I'm not burnt out, where I'm not getting sick. I'm going to knock on wood right now just because I'm a little superstitious and that's what I like to do. But it's actually been several years since I've been sick. And I've done more in these years than I've ever done possible. I'm probably in one of the best shapes of my life. I feel really good. Now, by the way, I'm not saying all this to say, hey, look how great I am, because I've also put myself into places where there's burnout, where I've gotten sick, where I felt like crap, where my relationships were on the line. So I've been on both sides of this equation. And I can tell you that one of the biggest differences that I made that allowed me to create the results that I'm really proud of is designing my day with intention. And being really, really clear about when I'm going to bed and when I'm waking up. I'll give you an example. Just last night, my stepson came over. We were all having dinner. It was a really beautiful time. And somebody said, hey, why don't we have some wine? And I knew that today was a day for filming to me. I knew that I wanted to wake up at about 5 o'clock in the morning and start writing and doing other things that I had to do. Other folks had wine. I did not. I made sure I got to bed by 10 p.m. so that when I woke up this morning, right, I was a little tired, but I actually felt great. And I was able to do everything I wanted to do. So my recommendation for you is to take a step back, to look at your calendar and to start designing an ideal day, week, and month, and scale back. We want you to do less so you can accomplish more. And I guarantee most of us have little pockets of places. I certainly always look for them. They're almost like weeds that grow up in our calendar, like whether it's looking at technology or there's just certain habits that we have. I can say that one for you right now is just not moving your body. And I know I'm just reminding you of something that you already know, but I think all of us need reminders from time to time to get back into the practice of what we know is going to be best for us. That when you move your body, you don't even have to work out for a full hour. It could be 20 minutes every day. It can be some yoga. It can be some things that you're doing on an app from your phone. It could be walking around the block and getting fresh air. But that movement energizes you. It helps your mind be able to focus more clearly and more succinctly on whatever you're doing, so you actually accomplish more in less time. I've seen this happen in my own career time and time again. I'm going to pause right now, and I want to see if Gregory wants to add anything, because he's nodding up and down.
Well, yeah, because I'm in the same spot, you know what I mean? And I feel like one thing that you said, architect our day.
Yes.
Like, I think that's personally going to help me as well, because it'll keep me on track, and those little other nuances that pop up, I can almost sort them into my next day or the following day if I stay focused. And then I'm also thinking, like, just Bianca personally too, asking for help is such a huge thing that I don't do. And I'm like, well, it's my dream, it's my business, it's my goals, it's my day. But other people can help us achieve those as well.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest lessons I've learned recently, even here on MarieTV, I've personally gone through some things that I needed to ask for help in delegating some tasks so that the job got done.
Yeah.
That might be something to look at as well, is just saying, I might need a little help.
Think about it like if you were building your dream house. right? And you had this beautiful piece of property and you had the ability to build whatever was going to be the home of your dreams. You wouldn't do it haphazardly. You wouldn't just go in and start slapping some wood around. First, you would architect it. You would design it on paper. And once you designed it on paper, you would have much more likely of a chance to have that dream house built than if you didn't. And we could do the same things with our days, with our weeks, with our months, and cumulatively, that adds up to our lives. So I don't know if any of this is resonating for you. Let me know. But I know it's completely possible for you, Bianca, to turn this ship around.
Yes, it's resonating with me for sure. I just still feel overwhelmed by it. But yeah, looking at it from the point of view of how inspiring schedule for the day.
Yes. And just know that you're your most important asset in your life, meaning you're the most important asset that you're bringing to your therapy sessions and to your clients. You're the most important asset that you're bringing to your mission in this world, which is to help people heal. So to take that first part of the day and devote it to taking care of you, again, through movement and exercise. If meditation is something that you're into, or maybe you're into prayer or journaling, I know that for me, meditation has been incredible because my brain is very, very active and it helps me clear the slate for the day and stay really, really focused. And then also reviewing what I actually have to get done. So looking at my journal, looking at exactly what needs to happen today so that I don't get taken off track by the things that can pop in my inbox, or, if someone texts or there's a fire that has to go out, I know precisely what I need to get done in order to feel successful for the day. And by the way, that's not 25 things. That's usually like 2 or 3. And I know anything beyond that is a bonus.
Yeah.
So one last thing that I'll share with you. You need to stop being so hard on yourself. You're such a beautiful human being. You're working so very hard. And I can tell you this, that the path to not only getting more done, but to enjoying this beautiful adventure we have called life is to be kind to you. That really is the secret that allows everything else to unfold. It's going to permeate your relationship with your clients. It's going to inspire you to do higher level work. And you're going to have this feeling of being burnt out and constantly chasing your dreams. That's just going to start to melt away. There's no race, my love. I know we live in a culture that kind of pushes us to hustle 24/7 and to never take a break. But you know this in your heart. It's not a sustainable model. And the only one that can make the changes that are necessary to have you have this experience of life is you.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you
You're
so much. I'm very honored to be on the call-in show.
Oh.
So honored to speak to you.
Well, please do us a favor. Will you keep us posted? I'd love you to take some time today and just start to map out what would it look like for you to have a day where you feel energized, where you took care of you first. What time would you wake up in the morning? What time would you go to sleep? What are the kind of activities that you would put into that day? And where can you start to scale back? Where can you find those pockets of time to leave some open space? Where can you say no to something that you might be cramming in because you know what? Having a full night's rest or taking 20 minutes to meditate is actually going to help you achieve more with less stress. So take some time today to do that. And then most importantly, you're going to have to implement. But I'd love you to keep us posted and let us know how it goes. I can promise you, just a week's worth of working out in the morning, even for 20 minutes, can change your whole mindset, your whole energy level, and how you approach each and every day. Look, no matter who you are or what your life is like, we've all got stress from time to time. Am I right? Yes. Well, I've got a secret tool that radically reduces stress in 5 minutes flat. Best of all, it's free and you can instantly download it right now. Go to marielovesyou.com/stresslog. That's marielovesyou.com/stresslog. I'll see you there. How do you stay consistent? I always try to set some time aside for actions that'll help me get further in my career. I'll be doing great for 2 weeks, and by the 3rd, I fall off the wagon, go on a hiatus, and have to start all over again, which is much harder to do each time. What can you suggest for staying on task without getting burned out and quitting? Lots of loves and laughs your way? Cat. Kat, this is such an important question. Most of us struggle with being more consistent in some part of our lives, and it's really worth working on because the rewards of being consistent are huge. So that being said, here are 5 secrets to help you be more consistently consistent. Number 1 is keep your eye on your why. In order to really stay connected to what you're doing over the long haul, you have to have a clear, compelling vision for what you're trying to achieve and know why you want to do it. So for example, it's a lot easier to keep saving consistently if you're saving for something important to you, like your first house or a once-in-a-lifetime trip. You know, when I think about MarieTV, this is a big commitment and we're in our 5th season, and it's not easy to keep doing this week after week. But I am committed because I'm clear on my why. This show is really the soul of my brand, and it's the primary way that I get to make a difference to as many people as possible around the world, and that's really important to me. So that's my why, and it is always in my eye. Number 2 is pick your battle. Now notice, I didn't say battles, I said battle. So I want you to pick one thing and just stick with that. The reason why is that we human beings have limited capacity when it comes to willpower and discipline. In fact, studies show that doctors recommend you do not try to do something like quit smoking and quit sugar at the same time, or you're going to fail at both. And I tend to agree. So pick one thing, and once you really make that a habit and you win that battle, then you can add on something else. Number 3 is schedule it. The late Stephen Covey said this, and it is a major, major secret to consistency. Don't prioritize your schedule, schedule your priorities. So this subtle distinction is so important. When you're trying to make something consistent in your life, you want to really build your whole life around it rather than trying to fit it in. You know, when it comes to MarieTV, the reason that this gets done so consistently is that we schedule it and we build our entire year around it. So everybody who works on MarieTV, we have these dates for the year. They are sacred, they're non-negotiable, and this is gonna happen come hell or high water. Hey, it's Marie Forleo. You're watching MarieTV, the place to be to create a business and life you love. And today's Q&A Tuesday. Keep rolling. Number 4 is ignore your feelings. Now, this is probably the only time you're going to ever hear me say this, but when it comes to developing consistency, it's pretty darn important to ignore the voice in your head that says, "Wah, I don't feel like it." I mean, anytime you're trying to be consistent at something worthwhile, like working out or meditating or painting or whatever, it's guaranteed you're going to hear that voice. "Wah, I don't feel like it." I mean, I hear that voice all the time. There are some days, as much as I love what I do, I don't feel like going to work. I don't feel like doing much of anything. But I've trained myself to override that whole voice in my head because I know the power of consistency. Now, if you've been consistent with something for a long time, or you're just clear that whatever you're up to, you're just done with it, that is fine. You can totally pay attention to your feelings, close that chapter, and move on. However, if you're still trying to develop consistency and the deeper part of you knows you really do want to keep going, please, for the love of all things holy, ignore your feelings. You can tell them, "Bye, Felicia."
Bye, Felicia.
Number 5 is catch that wagon. So don't have an all or nothing mindset. Don't think that if you miss one day meditating or you miss one workout that you're a total failure. When it comes to falling off the wagon, that's fine, and you probably will. We all do. This is where I think you're getting tripped up, though. I think you're spending so much time beating up on yourself that you fell off the wagon, that the wagon is just leaving into the distance and you're not getting back on it. So make sure you run and catch that wagon. And if you need a little extra inspiration, remember this tweetable. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently.
Hey, Marie, I'm 42, a wife and a mother of a 1.5-year-old and a 6-year-old, and now 3 months pregnant. I've been working on my butt off on building my business over the last 5 years and struggle with work-life balance. I feel like I'm now experiencing burnout and can't seem to be productive or anywhere near it. How do I be kind enough to myself to recover if it's burnout and not feel so lazy or like I'm letting my husband and my children and my team down? My goodness. So I got to tell you, Cheryl, I think that this is probably one of the main reasons that I wanted to create Time Genius, to be honest with you, because I saw in myself, I saw in so many of my colleagues, I saw in so many of our incredible members of our community and our audience that people were just driving themselves into the ground. And, we had surveyed our audience. I think we had over like 7,000 responses in just a few days. And I read every single one of them. And you are not alone. You are so not alone. I think it's been years really since we've heard this steady drumbeat in our culture that if you're not hustling 24/7, that you don't want it bad enough, that if you're not working for your dreams from the moment you wake up in the morning until the moment you hit your pillow, your head hits the pillow at night, that you must not be ambitious enough, or you don't have big enough dreams, or you don't want world domination. And I think it's been this real sickness in our culture. There's just glorification of overwork, and it's dangerous. I mean, I'm not just saying that, and that's not hyperbolic. 90% of all disease is either caused by or intensified by stress. That's just a fact. And I was seeing it in myself. And I was like, what is going on? I don't remember ever feeling this way. And for me, I have this great perspective because I remember starting my business way back in the year like 1999, 2000. This was like well before cell phones existed. This was well before social media existed or any tool or format like this. And I was like, my gosh, I was running a coaching practice. I was like choreographing and teaching fitness classes and dance classes around New York City. I was also bartending and waiting tables. Like, how did I get so much done? It was like, oh, well, because there wasn't this constant pressure to create content 24/7 out of every orifice and to engage with people 24/7 nonstop, again, 365 days a year. And so I just want to let you know that you are not the only one that struggles with work-life balance. And for me, I see this as this complete paradigm of the world that I call time stress, which is really toxic. It's this world where you don't feel like you ever have enough time. This world where there's constant interruptions and dings and pings and texts and emails, and you're constantly having to check your WhatsApp or your Instagram or your TikTok or this, that, and the other thing. And you never feel like, no matter how hard you work, no matter how much time you put in, it's just never enough. So the one thing is, I want you to realize that you don't have to keep living that way, that there's this entirely other paradigm. It's a paradigm that I call being a time genius, where you recognize that you always have time for what's most important. And you also recognize that pushing yourself this hard, that working anywhere between 8, 10, 12 hours a day is not only dangerous, it's dysfunctional. There's diminishing returns. You're not actually being that effective. And most people, when they're sitting down to quote unquote work, they're not even really working in a focused and effective manner. They're like flittering from thing to thing. They don't know which they should focus on first. There's not really a plan. There's not deadlines. They allow interruptions and distractions, and it's just a whole shit show. So I want you to first recognize, the first step in being kind to yourself is to recognize that you haven't done it wrong. You've just fallen victim to, like many of us have, the world of time stress. But I want you to be kind to yourself and recognize that that's not the only possibility out there, that it is possible to run a business and to have a family and to have time for yourself on a daily basis. It's going to look very different than what everyone else is doing, because everyone else is running around like a friggin' chicken with their head cut off. But there is this whole other way to be that involves you putting yourself first, and that's not selfish. It involves you taking care of your soul's needs and your body's needs and what you feel is going to bring the most health and peace and creativity and joy to your life. And again, it's going to look completely different. But I think recovering from burnout is going to require you not just to change what you do on a day-to-day basis, but it's going to require you changing your mind and your heart. It's going to require you stepping into a whole new paradigm, and you're not letting anyone else down. I can tell you, I've seen people in my life in pain, and I know that they've seen me in pain, and I'm not letting them down. I'm actually scaring the hell out of them because they think I'm going to put myself in a hospital if I keep going that way. I guarantee that your team and your kids and your family and your husband, they want you healthy and happy. They want nothing more than to see you thriving. And you've got to be able to decide what matters to you first. And you have to put your own self-care first. I know that might sound like it's impossible, but I promise you it's not. And it doesn't have to take 5 hours a day. It can just start in these little focused chunks. You would be shocked at how just 20 minutes, 30 minutes, first thing in your day, focusing on you and taking care of your own needs is going to have this spillover effect on every other area of your life. Again, we can walk you through all of this in Time Genius, but I want you to listen to what Nadia said, because she was actually somewhat in a position like yours when she first started, a few short weeks ago, not weeks, it was probably months at this point, but, she was listening to me talk about Time Genius in a video just like this. And she decided to click that button at jointimegenius.com/enroll, and her life is completely different. So let me read you what she said. She said, before Time Genius, I was stuck in a place of time stress and had no idea how to get out. As a mother and entrepreneur with a full-time job, I always felt like there weren't enough hours in the day. I'm also the sole breadwinner in my family, and I felt like I was doing everything but had no control over my life. I was having regular breakdowns and constantly overstimulated. Sound familiar? My brain used to feel like it had a constant ongoing chatter that didn't allow me to focus. Now, I feel like the background noise is gone and I have so much clarity. I'm journaling every day. I'm sleeping 8 hours a night. I'm able to relax without guilt. I thought this program would help me devote more time to my business and projects. I never anticipated it would allow me to spend more meaningful time with my daughter and husband. I feel like a new person. This program has changed my life in so many ways. Thank you for showing me how to add hours to my days, my weeks, my months, and my years, and my life. Thank you, Nadia. So I say that and I share these because, again, you might look at me and say, oh, well, she's got this, that, or the other thing, or she doesn't understand, blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is not about me. We've got 600 pages of everyday folks from all different walks of life, from all different stages of life, who have figured out that the world of time stress is toxic, it's destructive, it's unsustainable. You cannot keep living that way. And there's this whole other way to be. And it involves you taking charge of changing you from the inside out. And I will tell you this, it happens fast. Like, I've been working for over 2 decades, coaching and working with people. And I often will tell them, like, hey, this is going to take time. Building a business takes time. There's other things to build up a particular skill set. This takes time. All of that is still very true. With this particular experience, if you give me 2 hours a day for 5 days in a row, I guarantee you're coming out the other side a completely different person. And if you keep up the skills and the habits and the practices that I show you in these 5 days, you're looking at a completely different life. So I just want you to ask yourself right now, if you could just carve out 1 to 2 hours a day for 5 days for a completely new experience of life, would you do that? Hands down, for me, the answer, yes, every day of the week. I've done this. I've been living this for a while. So I'm completely clear and confident that it works. But for you, if you want to leave that world behind, please do come join us.
Let's talk productivity, since we were kind of going right around there, and your ability to devote time to things that matter. So there are times for me, like, for example, we were talking off camera before we sat on set about how, like, earlier this particular year for me was crushing. Like, I just got buried. There was B School. We launched a new website. I was doing this Oprah talk. And I remember—
I heard the Oprah talk was great.
Thank you. I'll send you a link. But like, my email was out of control. I felt horrible because I care about people. And it was just like this long, I'm like, oh God, somebody help me. And I'm curious to hear from you over the years, even if it's current or before, how you manage, because you're such a thoughtful person. You create so much. And as our world continues to get more connected and there's more kind of avenues in, I know you're not on Twitter and you keep comments off, so that's one thing. But even email, how do you manage to not get buried by it? And even broader in all your projects, making sure that you have the time for your creative thinking, but also for Helene and for the kids.
All right, so there's boxes within boxes within boxes here.
Yeah.
So let me try to decode it a little bit. The first thing I'll say is that productivity is an economic measure of how much you output for the amount of time and resources you put in. some people have figured out how to be naturally more productive than others per minute. And the way you do that is by having an instinct to ship, not an instinct to polish, to be perfect, to justify you're not shipping. That most people hesitate to ship, not because it's not ready, but because they're afraid. So I did a post about a year ago called Buzzer Management.
Okay,
And
we'll put a link to it below.
That's how you win at Jeopardy. The people who win at Jeopardy aren't better than the people who lose at Jeopardy, except in one thing. They press the buzzer before anybody else. And the only way to press the buzzer before everyone else is to press the buzzer before you're sure you know the answer. So as your brain is thinking, maybe I can get it, now you press the buzzer, and in that last moment, you're going to come up with something, right? So you agreed to do your Oprah talk. Was it done the day you agreed to do it?
Oh, hell no.
So, but you pressed the buzzer,
I did.
right?
Yes.
You pressed the buzzer, which is going to require, so do I have a blog post coming out tomorrow? I do.
Yeah.
I actually pressed the buzzer 10 years ago. So I know that's going to happen.
Yes.
So I'm apparently super productive because I'm good at buzzer management. I'm good at saying, I have this much time and there will be a thing when I'm done. Most people hesitate to do that because they're afraid. So that's the first thing I'll say. Second thing is, once you've been busy pressing the buzzer, now you have to say to yourself, what am I not going to do in order to be able to do that?
Yes.
So this is about making promises and keeping them. So I am not going to say to somebody, please go ahead, engage with me in this level, and I will get back to you, because maybe I can't. I don't go to meetings. I don't watch television. So right there, I save 7 hours that most people waste every single day. That 7 hours gives me a lot of space to do things that make me seem insanely productive, right? Yes. Because I'm not doing these other things. Well, other people really should go to meetings. Other people really should watch TV. That will make them productive in the way they seek to be productive. I'm just saying you pick. Yeah. So Twitter was easy for me because I said to myself, if I'm going to do Twitter, I should commit to it. There's a dip. And if I commit, I should figure out how to be really good at it. If I'm going to be really good at it, I'm going to have to give up something else. So what do I want to be less good at that I'm good at now so I could be good at Twitter? And I looked at what I thought would be the upsides of that. And I said, I don't want to give up anything I'm good at to be good at Twitter. Done. And I never have reconsidered it since because I don't need to. And there are other areas where I have said, you know what? I'm going to give up this part of my thing to do that thing instead. But we have to acknowledge we have finite resources, finite time, finite connections.
Yes.
How will we use them to produce outcomes that we're proud of? And the worst thing to do, in the words of Zig Ziglar, are to be a wandering generality. What you need to be is a meaningful specific. That means you have to claim it. You have to put yourself on the spot. You have to make a promise and say, I do this. You can count on me. That's what you're going to get from me.
I love it. Okay. Any email tips from you? Because
the most important email tip.
Tell me.
Do not send Seth Godin email.
Yeah. I mean, you know that.
Just don't send me email. Don't. That's the most important.
I love it. Like, okay. Let's just leave it right there.
There you go.
That's perfect. The power of finishing. Because you said something, another genius gem from Big Magic, about, I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be finished.
Yes.
And that is another one of those things where I'll hear from folks, it's like there's, 15 half-created bridges, things that are just half done, and it tortures them, and they're afraid to start something new because they haven't really developed the habit of getting something out there, even if it's not totally perfect.
Man, this is a huge one. This is a really huge one for women because it's all rooted in perfectionism, which is, of course, the murderer of all good things. Perfectionism is it's a serial killer that just goes around killing joy, spontaneity, wonder, grace, humility. It just kills it all. Yeah. And perfectionism, I think, is a particularly dangerous kind of fear. I always call perfectionism fear in high-heeled shoes because it's fancy. It's like a really fancy haute couture version of fear because perfectionism can advertise itself as a virtue, and it can trick you into letting it think that it makes you special.
Yes.
Because people have such high standards. Yeah, I have such high standards. I'm like, I just can't rest till something. I'm a perfectionist. It's what people say in job interviews as their fault.
Yeah.
Like, well, I guess I just care too much. And you're like, wow, you're telling me. But what you're telling me when you say that is that it's going to be very hard for you. Not only to finish something, but probably to begin something. Because the true perfectionist won't even start because they know already
that it's not going to be the thing that they're dreaming of, and their tastes and their standards are so high. There's this woman I recently was talking to who wrote a very successful book maybe 15 or 20 years ago and hasn't been able to write another book since. And I was talking to her about it, and she said, the world's just so full of crap work, and I just don't want to put another piece of crap on the crap pile. So I just won't release this thing until I feel like it's perfect. And I said to her, I am so glad I never took that on as my problem, that the world is full of garbage. Like, how is that your responsibility? This is not your problem. And I was like, it's not my problem if my work isn't good. It's not my problem. It's not even my fault. Like, it's not my problem. My problem, the contract that I made, the only way I finished my first novel, because it wasn't good, because I'd never written a novel before. So why would it be good? Who wakes up and knows how to write a novel? So I was 50 pages into this thing, and I'm 25 years old. And it's not good. And I know what a good novel is. Yeah. And it's not. This isn't working. And, every dignified part of me wants to just put it in the bottom of the drawer and walk away. And then I just had this warrior moment. And I just remember exactly where I was standing. And I stood up and I said out loud, I never promised the universe I would be a good writer. I just promised the universe I would be a writer. That is the only thing I committed to. This is not my problem. And I just sort of said to the fairies and the genies, I was like, if you guys want it to be good, you're going to have to chip something in here, because this is what I can do. If you want to add something, feel anytime, feel free. And the other commitment I made was, I do not want to go to my grave with 50 pages of an unfinished novel in a drawer. There's enough of that in the world, And the other thing was this voice where I was anticipating the criticism, because I knew what the criticism would be, because I knew where it wasn't good. And I just said out loud to all my future critics at that moment, I don't know what kind of language I can use on your show.
Every kind of language. We're from Jersey, girl.
If you don't like it, go write your own book. And you know what? You won't. Guess what? You won't. You won't. And guess what? I did, and therefore I won.
Yes.
Because mine's finished, and yours doesn't even exist, and now you're criticizing mine. This is like an imaginary conversation, by the way, with people who've never heard of me.
Yeah.
But that's how I got through that first book, was just I just want it done, because as my mother always taught me, done is better than good. The world's full of a bunch of really, really good, not done stuff.
Yes.
And if you can just finish something, you're already 10 miles ahead of everybody else, because most people won't. And what will make you finish it is not discipline, but self-forgiveness. Because we all start our project on day one with the same level of excitement. And on day two, we all look at what we wrote on day one, and we all hate ourselves, because what we wrote on day one, or did on day one, whatever our creativity is, it's horrible.
Horrible.
And the people who go on day 3 and pick it up again and start over are not the most disciplined. It's not rigor that's going to get you there. It's saying, all right, then, I'm not Hemingway. I'm just going to do what I can. And you forgive yourself for disappointing yourself, and you go and you do more. And that's it. It's just a little bit of humanity towards your poor self.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's the thing I need to remind myself of the most, because I have this thing in me. I can go into that driving place. And again, that's why I love your book so much. The other thing that I was fascinated I wanted to ask you so bad, you probably accomplish more than most people do in, I don't even know a time frame. And of course, you get to talk with people who are at the highest level of their game. When it comes to productivity, what do top performers know that a lot of people just don't? What are we missing?
Well, I think the best performers are focused on outcomes and not activities. If you try to manage your to-do list in the world we live in today, where most of us have multiple roles, we're trying to be a great business person, a great husband or wife, great father, great community member, or whatever, there's just so many roles, you can never get all your to-dos done. And what helped me in my life was I started at one point saying, I'm not going to let myself fail every day. I'm not going to pick a to-do list, and I'm not going to not write a list so that I don't fail. I need to focus on what matters most. I needed to organize my life into categories where I say, these are the most important outcomes, and then I know why I'm going to do it. If you know what you really want, the target, and you know why, you have the focus and you have the fuel, then how to get there, there's so many ways to get there. And then the most important thing I think that the most productive people do is we leverage what we do. We don't delegate. Delegation is I give it to you, and then when it doesn't work out, I'm pissed at you. Leverage is I empower you. If I'm leveraged, I'm still part of that, and I'm gonna make sure you succeed. I'm gonna follow up. I'm gonna make sure before the deadline, I touch base with you. I'm gonna make sure you have the resources to succeed. But what I do is empower people, go, here's the outcome, here's the why. I get you and I aligned with the outcome and the why. You figure out how you wanna do it. I'm open. You want brainstorm with me, I'll do it. You'll probably come up with better ideas than I do. And when you empower people to come up with their own how, and they know what and why, you can get the job done 100 times faster, especially if you get a group of people. I'm a big believer that early in my life, I thought I was such a smart person. I'm going to solve all this stuff. Part of it was being responsible, and part of it is ego that we all have inside ourselves if we've succeeded to a certain extent. I said, this is bullshit. You know what? Instead of one person solving 12 problems, I want 12 people to solve one problem. And I developed that practice, and I began to find that people that many people thought weren't going to contribute had insights nobody else had. I really got it from Steve Wynn. Steve Wynn's a dear friend of mine, and he's rebuilt Las Vegas, one of those brilliant men I know, multi-billionaire. And Steve really learns the most from the bellmen, from the people that would never make it into the C-suite. He learns what customers are feeling, what they're experiencing, how to have an impact, what needs to be changed, because these people are on the front lines. So I'm a big believer that you need leverage. And if you're just starting out in business, I know a lot of people that will probably watching your shows are watching you because you're a successful businesswoman who's built your own entrepreneurship. You've done so many great things. I think in the very beginning, the hard thing is you think you can only do it yourself, and then there's only so many hours, and you've got kids and family and friends, and how do I do it all? The answer is you hire someone. You trade with someone. You trade them for 2 hours. That's what I did in the beginning. Because I'll never forget, I was just really young in my career, very in the early days, and I was running to get to the dry cleaners so I could get my only 2 suits. Because if I didn't get them, then the place closes, then I can't get on the plane, and running to the airport, sweating like crazy. I'm a sweater anyway. Right? It's like sweating like this, trying to get in the door, and it's like, what is wrong with this picture? I could be doing something that's so productive, and I'm standing in line at the dry cleaning place, and this is just nuts. And so I was really young, I was like 17, 18, 19, I don't know what it was. And I said, I'm gonna hire somebody. 2 hours a day, that's what I had to start with. And then it was 4 hours. And so my view is I don't do anything that someone else can do better, and I don't do anything that isn't the highest and best use of my time. Now, when I say that, that's gross generalization. There are things I still will do. But for the most part, by finding people and getting clear on outcomes and the why, what I call RPM, you gotta know the result, you gotta know the purpose, and then you gotta have a massive action plan. And the plan can change. But that RPM, the stronger the RPMs, the faster that car is gonna move. And I try to do that, not just through myself, but through other people.
Hi, Crystal. It's Marie Forleo, and you're live on the Marie TV call-in show. How you doing?
I am trying not to freak out. This is very exciting.
No, freak out. We're going to freak out. Great. Come on. We're freaking out.
Freaking out!
Okay, so we just freaked out with you and for you. So you can totally feel free to freak out, too.
Well, I'm at my 9 to 5, so I have to keep it.
Oh, you got to keep it silent.
She's like, girl, I'm in a cubicle.
Okay.
I can't.
Well, I just have to say, Crystal, your voice is like tremendous. You have an amazing voice. Just have to tell you that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, Crystal, tell us about your question, and we'll try and keep it together, and we'll try and not to make you freak out since you're at your 9 to 5. Talk to us.
Well, my question to you, which I'm completely honored that I would even be considered for this opportunity to speak to you. I am a chef from trade, and I have been a buyer for a food service distributor for, I don't know, as long as I can remember, 10 years now. And I would like to transition into something more at heart with my local community, because I have this amazing island that I live on. I live in the Cayman Islands, and I live in Grand Cayman, which is the largest island in the Caribbean, or Cayman Islands, Caribbean. And my question to you, I love personal development, but I suck at follow through. Total truth. I am currently raising 3 young girls and want to model success by example. Having trouble putting my great dreams of owning my own business as a restaurant and local agriculture consultant into an action plan. What action triggers do you set to get your butt up and start making it happen?
Yes. All right. Well, Crystal, great question. Thank you for everything that you shared. Just as a point of clarification, do you want to start a restaurant, like a local restaurant, and also become an agricultural consultant? Or are those two things, you consider them one?
I want to consult restaurants.
You want to consult restaurants. Okay, great.
Right.
Okay, good. So Here's the big message that I have for you, and this is for everyone. Well, first of all, we're going to put links below this episode, and I know you're a fan of the show, but sometimes, we've talked about a lot of things over the years, and we have many episodes about follow through, and we're going to put those links because I want you to have those mofos on repeat. So that's as a little aside. We're going to make sure that you get that. But the big message I want to say to you, my friend, is simplify to amplify. One of the challenges that people have when it comes to follow through is they're always trying to take on too many things. They're trying to do all the things at once, and then they don't do anything but the bare minimum to just get through life. So for you, I'm curious, Crystal, if there was just one thing that you felt like you could do each and every day to start bringing this dream of becoming a consultant to restaurants to life, what would it be?
I think make the right relationship connections.
Yes. I'm going to stop you right there.
networking.
I'm going to stop you right there because that's exactly where I was going to go with you too. Relationships, especially when it comes to this business, are everything. Question: do you have like a hit list of people that you would want to develop relationships with locally?
I'm building it.
Great. How many
Currently
people do you have
building
on it right now?
I would say probably about 5. I want it to make it more like 100, I think.
Mm-hmm. So what you could do, Crystal, is you don't have to wait until you have that list of 100 people. Literally, either today or tomorrow morning, you could just start making phone calls and developing those relationships. Like whoever those 5 people are, call them, email them, send them a DM on Instagram, send them a soak smiggle, go to their house, knock on their door, whatever you need to do, and say, hey, I'm going to take you out for some tea, or I'd love to have some coffee, or whatever you have to do to start getting into those conversations, do it. The whole idea of starting before you're ready is one of the concepts that has changed my life so drastically. So between that and simplify to amplify. So the simplify to amplify thing is don't try and do too much. Don't try and build some fancy ass website. Don't try and like get proposals together and, all these different things that people do that they think that they need in order to launch a business. You don't need that. All you need is to make an offer to someone and for someone to actually say yes. You don't need anything besides that. And the way that you're going to get to that place is, as you rightly said, through relationships. So don't wait until you have 100 names. Start with the 5 that you got and then keep adding names on. So for example, if I were you, I'd start knocking on those doors virtually, metaphorically, physically. The first person that you talk to, have a conversation and ask them who else they know that they think you should talk to. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes, that makes perfect sense.
And do not let yourself overthink this. At all. That's one of the other places that we all fall down. We overthink it. We want to get it perfect. We want to have everything together. That it is so overrated. 20 years will go by and then you'll be no closer than you are right now. So pick up that phone. The action trigger is literally like, I have to make these 5 phone calls today. And that's the big thing for you to do for the day. And the next day, next 5 phone calls. Next day, next 5 phone calls. Don't have this huge long ass plan. You don't need a big strategy. Your ass just needs to get in action.
I love it.
Cool?
Yeah, I am on it.
Yes.
I'm so
okay.
on it.
Will you promise me, Crystal, to keep us updated? You'll write to the team and let us know how it's going. And if you need a little
I cannot wait
gentle but loving kick in the butt, we can give it to you.
Definitely.
Greg, do you have anything to say to Crystal? I'm here with Greg, who, if you've seen
Greg.
the show, yeah.
Hey, love. No, I can so relate to this because I'm very, very similar. And I think it's just the overwhelming task of having so many tasks, or your what to do list is so large that you sit in a space of, oh my gosh, what do I do? So the simplify to amplify, like ding, da, ding, ding, ding. That 5 little person list, even in my life, I'm like, yes, I can handle 5. I can do 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then those relationships, like sitting down, talking with people, like, who else do you know? I would be so afraid to ask that question, but it's like, okay, that could help build my list. Okay, that's easy.
Yeah. So Crystal, you have
got
everything.
this.
It's right. You got everything that you need right now. So we will follow up with those follow-up how to follow through episodes. But honestly, girl, don't worry about action triggers. It's like you get up, you do it, you don't think about it, you do it again. And before you know it, your business is going to be off and running.
I'm so excited.
Hey, want to learn how tweaking just one tiny word on your to-do list will help you get like 10 times more done instantly? Then watch the video right next to me now and learn this simple but genius secret. I'll see you there. Now, the trick to make your to-do list stop crying is to verbalize it. Verbarizing it means making sure that every item on your to-do list starts with a verb.